master plan. We believe this plan aligns with the Dexter's master plan, supporting the community small town character, also contributing to local growth, compliance with zoning standards. We will comply to the standards. We know there's some adjustments we need to make, and we will be making on that end, compatible with adjacent uses. We believe this is compatible being in a shopping center area. Adding the coffee component. There was a comment and question about noise and volume from the drive-through speaker. We have confirmed there's that speaker is adjustable from the POS system, so it can be adjusted as needed based on what kind of volume to not disturb tenants, impact on the environment. We believe that this will have a minimal impact. All the infrastructure and utilities are already out there to deal with things like managing the stormwater runoff, impact on public facilities. Again, the public infrastructure is out there. This is a very small footprint and shouldn't have a major impact. The traffic impact, coffee shops actually typically don't drive a whole lot of traffic. They capitalize on existing traffic in an area, so we don't think it will add much in the way of traffic. Public safety and welfare, we meet all the safety standards, have signage, whatnot, that complies with the local code. And we believe this meets the special use requirements for the city. And kind of in conclusion, our request is that get an approval with the condition that we make all plan and adjustments based on staff and zoning and planning recommendations. Thank you, and welcome any questions.
Great, thank you. We may have some additional questions for you a little bit later. Thank you. Okay, and I think we'll go to probably staff. Megan.
Starts with Megan.
Okay.
Good evening, Megan Masson-Menock of Carlisle Wortman, the planning consultant for the city. I think the applicant did a great job of going over the site. There's a couple of things I wanted to highlight and bring to your notice as you're looking at this. This is not only a special land use, but a combined site plan. And so if you were to pass both of those tonight, it would go as a complete package to city council. It's our opinion that there's no not ready at this point, but that they do need direction from you on particularly architecture and landscaping. Wanted to point out that the site is zoned PUD. It's from the 1997 Dexter Crossings. And at that point, they used the PUD was an overlay and they used the underlying zoning. The zoning's obviously changed a lot since 1997, but in 1997, a drive-through was a special land use. So that's the reason why the landscaping and the form-based regulations that weren't in place in 1997 are a factor for your special land use approval. I know that's a bit unusual. If it was a site that wasn't zoned, was just zoned Ann Arbor Road corridor, all those wouldn't be necessarily a judgment call on some of these things. And also in terms of the master plan, this area is planned for Dexter Ann Arbor corridor, and so is the surrounding area, except to the rear of the overall shopping site that is multiple family. And again, you've got a small site within a bigger site as well. So there's a few layers here. In our review, we've pointed out a number of master plan goals, including the overall land use goal, mobility goals, and specifically the goals for Dexter Ann Arbor mixed use future land use district. And the goal of that district is to encourage cohesive and distinctive development of a mix of commercial, office, service, and residential uses within the area which serves as the entrance to the city, as well as a transitional area between the historic village area and eastern portion of the city. An objective specifically underneath that is organization of commercial development into compact, unified commercial centers that complement the scale and character of existing development, or that promote the desired character for areas where new development or redevelopment is planned. In terms of natural resources, it's already a developed site, so there's not much to look at in terms of that. In terms of building location and site design, they've done a good job of that. The public side is facing, and that the vehicular side is facing Dexter Ann Arbor Road. What's unusual is that there's no public entrance at all. So there's no door that has to face the road. There's only 2 entrances that are for employees. And so, as you know, there's a requirement for the building entrance to face, a public building entrance to face the street. In this case, they don't have a public entrance. The walk-up window is the closest thing to it. Again, because it's a PUD, because this is a special land use, those aren't apply as hard and fast as some other cases, that you have seen recently. Also, I want to point out that they do have a patio area, which is something that is strongly encouraged in the building placement orientation guidelines, but it's not required. And one of the things that you need to do tonight is consider compliance with the building location and site design as part of the special land use review. In terms of area setback widths and heights, the revised layout that they submitted meets everything. So there's no issues to be addressed there. There's in our report, we cite what the traffic impacts would be in terms of at the peak hour in the morning and the peak hour and the afternoon or evening, both for vehicles and pedestrians and cyclists. Just wanted to note that this is likely not generating its own traffic. It's going to be pass-through traffic that usually comes through. In terms of site access and circulation, there's internal queuing, and they have a requirement for 10 spaces. They provided 11. And they also have walkways striped, so you can get from the parking area through to, if you park on the interior with interior parking area, so you could, as a pedestrian, walk over where the drive-through lane is, and then go to the walk-up window or enjoy the patio there. There are drive-through standards, which they have met all of those. In terms of essential facilities and services, we defer to the engineer and as well as the fire department. For parking and loading, as I discussed, they have more than enough queuing spaces, and they comply with the number of spaces and number of EDA spaces and as well biking spaces. The one issue here is that, as I mentioned, there's a sidewalk. If you're going from the interior of the site out to the road, there's the parking. There's a 5-foot wide sidewalk. Then there's the drive-through lane. So those cars will come up and park against that curb sidewalk. But it's only 5 feet. Then bumpers could encroach on that 5 feet, and it's not an ADA compliant sidewalk. So they have either 2 choices: is one to expand that to 7 feet, or I believe the staff put in their review that you put bumper blocks at the 5 feet in front of the 5-foot curb in order to prevent that vehicle overhang and still have the minimum necessary for ADA compliance. In terms of landscaping, they are in compliance, but we really think that there are a number of things they could do to improve the landscaping. We've made a number of those as a staff, has also made some requirements, not requirements, but recommendations. And we hope that you would provide input to the applicant tonight on how you feel that those should, what changes should be made in order to meet those standards for a special land use. In terms of dumpsters and waste receptacles, there is a dumpster with an enclosure. The building materials haven't been, have not been provided, so we need more information to evaluate that conformance. Also, we've recommended the applicant provide some additional vegetative screening on the dumpster enclosure to enhance that visual appearance. In terms of signs, they'll need to apply for them under a separate permit. I think we discussed sidewalks. For lighting, they comply with everything except that staff has noted that they need to adjust their Kelvin levels so that it's not too bright. Getting to the exterior and floor plane elevations. In a nutshell, basically there are 5 items that they violate, that their design does not comply with in terms of the regulations for the Ann Arbor Dexter corridor itself. And also that form-based code for things for the form-based districts overall, which does would apply to this site under that special land use. We made a recommendation for them to consider using a wider range of colors to adjust the windows to increase transparency and alter the locations so it's more typical of a storefront. And I think the designs they brought for you tonight are more matching in that, but it would be lovely to hear from the Planning Commission instructions to the applicant as how you think that those things could be approved to more meet these standards. And also to modulate the facade facing Dexter. It's a short facade. The regulations that you can't have a blank wall more than 30 feet. But they're only, the wall itself is only about 40, 45 feet. So in our recommendation, we asked that they consider modulating the facade every 10 to 15 feet instead of every 20 to 30, which is the overall architectural requirement in the form-based code. But you have lots of architectural expertise on the Planning Commission, and I'm sure you'll provide direction. In terms of special land use standards, we found that they were consistent. The proposal is consistent with goals, objectives, as long as goals and objectives, that it could be consistent with the stated intent of the zoning district. And we were saying that to look more insert of what the PUD is, what was the intent of that, the intent of the Dexter Crossing PUD, rather than if you look at the intent in the zoning ordinance for PUD. Specifically, I think the standard for you to look at tonight is that the special land use will be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained to be compatible with and not significantly alter the existing or intended character of the general vicinity. Again, this goes back to the landscaping and to the architecture and what that should look like in order for this area to continue to implement your vision for the Dexter Ann Arbor Road corridor. In terms of the other standards, we found that those could be met. And our recommendations are that the applicant provide information about the sidewalk width and what they would like to do about that. Details on the dumpster enclosure. They brought you information on building materials tonight. And then in any revised site plan schedule with the percentage of building materials. Things for you to consider that we hope that you would provide input on after the public hearing tonight is that allowance for the walk-up window to act as that public entrance facing Dexter Ann Arbor Road. Whether, and if so, how the landscaping plan must be changed in order to meet the standards for the special land use. Whether, and if so, how the proposed architecture must be changed in order to meet the standards for the special land use. And then whether the special land use meets those review standards in section 803 as proposed, and if not, what changes would be needed. Happy to answer any questions now or later.
Thank you. Probably have some more questions later. Okay, next up.
So the engineer was not approved to be.
Okay. Okay.
but Ed Root from the Dexter Fire Department is here online. Ed, can you give the DAFD review?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. Dexter Fire has no concerns at this time for the Diggy's Coffee proposal.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Sweet, all right.
So the engineer isn't here, but I'll go ahead.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, we can do your presentation and we can follow up with the questions on the engineering, I think.
Okay.
Anybody?
Go through them quickly or just,
I guess if you could touch on the highlights.
the highlights are the site plan comments that are in the packet, numbers 1 through 9. They are clarifications that are needed. Some of them, like the sidewalk, they can already explain to you. Things like the grease trap, that can literally be a notation. That's something that really will come in as far as final site plan detail, but also zoning compliance with their construction drawings. There are stormwater easement clarifications that are needed. Because this is an already built out site, it's mainly getting the details right. And then the engineer did provide the detailed engineering comments so that they were aware that if this goes forward, these are the things they need to do. For the final site.
Okay, good. Thank you. Now you're exciting review.
That'll be me.
All right.
Good evening, Planning Commission. So as Megan with Carlisle Wortman Associates stated, we staff also believe that this project is compatible with master plan, which is one of the requirements for the special land use. However, having said that, there are several items that do need to be revised in order to meet the zoning standards. So in addition, so one clarification I wanted to make is that whereas Megan had stated that the landscaping requirements are met, they're not actually fully met per section 6.10.b. Landscaping is also required along the building foundation and along pedestrian pathways. It is currently proposed along some pedestrian pathways, but not in the entirety. Also, we have the concern of the loading space. It appears that there's a garage, but from what was provided in the elevations, it's unclear as to where that garage is situated. And so one of the largest issues that we found is that the elevations do need to be revised. They need to be provided with orientation rather than just, elevation A, B, C, and D, so that it's clear the direction that they're stated. There seems to be a discrepancy between the elevations and the site plan. So that needs to be worked through. Also, renderings need to be provided per the ordinance. Additionally, there's the issue with the building frontage, the build out, which is the area between setbacks, between the minimum and maximum setbacks. So in this case, it's 15 feet and 25 feet. That per the form-based districts needs to be, per the ARC, the Ann Arbor Road Corridor needs to be 50% to 75%. And currently as proposed, it's 100%. Now, it does appear that there was an adjustment made in the presentation that was provided. However, we won't be sure until we receive a revised plan set. Additionally, we actually had stated that wheel stops or bumper blocks would be required instead of increasing the width of the sidewalk, as Megan had stated. Transparency, window transparency needs to be at 50% minimum. And as you can see on the building elevations, we're not close to that. I had actually provided those examples from Colorado. So for planning commission to consider, you know, and maybe, and actually to, you know, brainstorm, I guess, on any other materials that you see fit from examples that currently exist out there for Ziggy's. Because it is a different kind of a building, being that there is not an inside to it. So we do need to have that in consideration as well. Mechanical equipment wasn't provided. That does need to be screened. So that would be something that needs to be added to the landscaping plan, as well as the utility plan. There's also discrepancy between the utility and the landscaping plan as it stands now, in terms of where the catch basin outlets are for sanitary sewers. So that's another revision. And again, this last one is really that, you know, there really seems to be some inaccuracy, I believe, with the elevations and the site plan. We also agree that it's definitely compatible with adjacent uses. And they have provided great amenities such as bicycle hoops, where only one hoop is required per the ordinance. They've provided 3. They also have that patio with a seating area, and are very detailed in terms of having those pedestrian connections, both north and south through the site, as well as east and west. One item that we would like clarification on, we urge planning commission to get clarification on, is why that east-west pathway connects all the way west to the drive aisle, rather than stopping just at the dumpster. Our concern is a safety one, as to, you know, not trying to encourage pedestrians to walk to the drive aisle entrance. So that could be a question, more clarification from the applicant. See. So a lot of the building design we covered. Something that we also had recommended was consideration of an overhead cover on top of the pedestal, the ordering pedestal. That's for weather and good conditions. You know, if you think about ordering at McDonald's, whatever, there is a cover there when you stick out your head to order into the microphone. So something to consider. And in terms of engineering standards, as Michelle had mentioned, there's several utilities comments from OHM that need to be revised. Also stormwater management, like calculations and other details, which are specified in that section. Yes, the lighting does need to go down to 3,500 Kelvin. Right now, they're proposed at 4,000. So as to not repeat anything else that was mentioned, we do think that this is a great project. We just see that there's quite a bit of details that need to be rectified. And then basically, you know, the decision for planning commission would be either to have the applicant rectify those items and have staff determine whether or not it satisfies staff's perspective, or to postpone the decision tonight so that those changes can come back to you for further review for you to determine if the changes are satisfactory to planning commission. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I think that concludes all of our staff and consultant presentations. So with that, we will go open the public hearing at 7:38. If anybody would like to speak to this item, please step forward, state your name and address, or if you're online, please raise your hand if you can hear us. Did we remedy that situation? Okay, perfect. Public hearing, if anybody would like to speak.
Is there anybody attending virtually that would like to make a comment? If so, please raise your hand.
Okay, seeing nobody online. Seconds here. Okay, close the public hearing at 7:39. Okay, so with that, planning commission.
I got a motion.
Okay, save me some words.
Based on the information provided by the applicant staff, CWA, OHM, and DAFD, and following a public hearing conducted by the Planning Commission on September 3rd, 2024, the Planning Commission moves to postpone action on the special land use permit PSLU 24-0002 for Ziggy's Coffee located at 7061 Dexter Ann Arbor Road, 080808-200-021, to allow the applicant additional time to address the concerns, one, cited herein by staff, two, cited in the CWA, OHM, and DFD review letters, and three, cited by the Planning Commission.
Okay, move party to postpone, support Phillips. Okay, so we are now in discussion.
So it's a great plan. I mean, you guys, looks like a great project. You know, it's just not fully baked yet. And we're a planning commission that we like to see things fully baked. You know, I think that I have no issue with the walk-up window serving as the entrance, since this is not a building that is going to have an entrance. I think that the street side, facing side of it, you know, needs to be dressed up better. You know, one of the things that frustrates me a little bit is that we often get direction from our consultant or from staff that ask us to input on building materials and appearance and things like that. And I don't think that's our role, frankly. You know, you guys have professionals, you should know, and I'm not saying you don't, you know, you should know what a quality building material looks like and what a building material that fits into the sort of aesthetic of Dexter is. And so I trust you to do that. I don't think it's quite there yet. You know, a couple little things like, obviously we need landscaping around the foundation and things like that. I do agree with staff that the sidewalk to nowhere past the dumpster doesn't make much sense and probably should be cut off. I am in my regular life, I am an assistant United States attorney who defends lawsuits against the government. And I will tell you that a walkway across a drive-through scares the heck out of me as a guy who defends lawsuits, but I can't really see a better way to do it. And so I don't have a lot of feedback on that, other than it makes me nervous. So I think it's a good project. I think if you tighten it up and bring us back to it, it'll get through pretty easily.
Additional feedback, yes. Mr. Phillips.
So I agree. It's also a great project. It'll be a welcome. You're on the right side of the street. I'm sure you'll do very well. I think this current design would fit great in the industrial park, but it looks again like a generic box that gets plugged in anywhere around the world, basically. And as I've said with other applicants, it looks like that whoever designed this has not been to Dexter or driven through it even. And it is clueless when it comes to both its place in the community and the ordinance. So that indicates to me that whoever designed it was unaware of kind of where he was working or what the requirements were. And I think that's kind of troubling. But I think this, the elevation from Denver is probably closer to something that we can tolerate. But otherwise, we're expecting to see something that looks like you've been here before when it comes back. That's all I had.
Additional comments, Mr. Hill?
A question and a comment. Is the elevation that you've got on the tripod there, is that just a generic one from
Yeah.
somewhere else, or is that the one you're proposing?
No, it's just got a circle drive right around it, so.
That's from Augusta, Georgia.
Okay.
So that's from another location.
Okay. My only comment then in regards to everything that's been presented, again, and I agree, I think this will work fine. Is that I disagree, and I have in the past, with staff in regards to the landscape plan, specifically the tree replacement along Dexter Ann Arbor Road. There's 3 trees being replaced, I think, maybe two or three, but anyway, I have no issue. In fact, I recommend that you replace those trees with identical to the trees that are in there. I think they're red oaks or whatever they are, rather than going to some whatever, different variety. I think sweet gum was mentioned. Sweet gum's fine, but why not replace them with the same trees that are there? My opinion.
Yes.
I have a question for staff. I don't recall in this zoning if we have discretion on loading spaces. Or if
This
it's
is a
required.
I don't believe that there's discretion. I think that loading spaces is a standard requirement.
No, well, no, it goes
Even
by
with the
zoning.
PUD though?
I don't think so.
For the loading space, you can always waive the loading space based on the type of deliveries and whatnot. So you've waived it before when someone said, hey, we're having a mail, a small truck deliver things and they'll pull into a parking space. Or there might be a space that they pull up to. I would say that there should be clarification about where that delivery truck or van is loading. Then if it is something that you agree with the applicant that a loading space isn't necessary, then that's a waiver that you should issue.
Thank you, Megan.
Yes. Michelle?
I'll ask the applicant.
Sure.
I would suggest the applicant maybe investigate that with staff in terms of the loading space. I can't speak for the whole planning commission, but my opinion, a loading space for a building this small is probably unnecessary. But that's an operation issue for you guys to figure out and work with staff on that.
Michelle, did you? Oh, okay.
Regardless of whether the employee is space or not, because it's a small
Sure.
site and they're going to be large trucks. Where are they going to be? Having some logistical.
Well, yeah, my thought is they're coming back, so they might as well include that rather than get into it now, but that's up to them.
Oh, yeah, clarification on the loading and what kind of trucks you see, deliveries, that kind of issue. That is a good point. I don't think we necessarily require one if you don't need one. However, yeah, it's an operational issue. You're going to need to function correctly. You're going to want to have that taken care of. Additional. Oh, yes. Thank you.
Sorry, and to just clarify, there is also a garage here on this elevation.
Yeah, is
So we-
that, okay, can we ask the applicant, is that a garage or not? It was kind of a, okay. Okay,
Okay,
I wasn't clear.
currently it appears on the site plan that that's facing the patio.
okay, so we want to make sure that's clarified, then the use of that door. Yeah, okay. Okay, yes, Michelle, did you have something to add?
So it's facing Dexter and Arbor, it's facing patio, which is a driveway between people work with them.
Yeah.
No clear clarification
clarify that.
and
Function.
additional landscaping necessary.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Additional. I guess I share many of the comments from my commissioners regarding the architecture, again, facing Dexter Ann Arbor Road. As well as the additional landscape plantings, again, to kind of soften that appearance up. I think one of the things I really do appreciate it about this is that, and I mean, I work in a community that's, for lack of a better word, more anti-drive-through. But I think, again, at this location, this one works. I think the way it's designed. Also, I appreciate that despite it giving my co-commissioners, making them nervous about the crosswalk, this sidewalk crossing that drive-through lane. I think that's huge. I mean, I don't even think the code will allow it, that drive-through lane in between the building and the street, but that would be like a non-starter right there, I think. I really appreciate the patio. I think in a way, it's kind of a shame. I understand why there's no indoor area, but for people to gather or to sit around there. But I think the outdoor area, it could be, there's nothing like that around this area, or even, I think, depending on your hours of operation, even a little bit later for kids or other people to go. I mean, obviously it's outdoor, it's only open part of the year, but I think making that as nice as possible, it faces obviously a major road there. So I think, again, making it comfortable for people to sit at, that would also involve additional landscaping. I think in the big scheme of things, landscaping is a relatively cheap improvement item, especially if you're talking wildflowers or shrubs, things like that. The other thing, the walk-up window, yeah, I agree, given the nature of the business, that I think that's acceptable facing Dexter Ann Arbor Road. Let's see, the architecture we did kind of touch on. I do feel, again, it's compatible with the land, special land use. Once all these, I mean, there's quite a list here of things that need to be addressed, so I feel pretty confident once those are addressed to the satisfaction of staff, that it will be even more in line with those goals. I also share, and this is not like me at all, but to the comment regarding the sidewalk, as much as I would say I love sidewalks everywhere, but I would kind of agree when I saw that. Initially, it just goes to the drive-through lane. So yeah, I think, and I appreciate there at least some connection to Dexter Ann Arbor Road. So, and the sidewalk comment, again, I think that's, although I guess staff had pointed that out as well, the sidewalk comment regarding the bumper blocks, making sure you keep that sidewalk width there at least for accessible travel. I think, are there other items that we wanted some further direction for the applicant on? Landscaping plan, we touched on the architectural. Okay, I think that seems to address, is there anything that was outstanding that you needed to? Yes, Mr. Phillips.
Just a quick item on the bumper blocks. I would urge your applicant to consider widening the sidewalk rather than use bumper blocks.
There you go.
We don't see those very often anymore because the snow plows tend to damage them or either pull them up or push them. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
it's a problem in the winter. So something to consider. Not a zoning thing though.
Yes, Mr. Hardy.
Yeah, strong second of Tom. We're at pretty anti-bumper block here on the Dexter Planning Commission.
Bumper block. Did you want to add was it relevant to our past discussion or?
Yes, we have a question about the sidewalks.
Okay, yes.
So the reason is.
I'm sorry, could you step forward, state your name too, please? Just for others that are listening as well.
Yep, I am Miranda Roberts. I'll be one of the owner operators of the Ziggy's Coffee. The reason that sidewalk is there is for staff use, because during peak hours, our staff will be outside with iPads ordering at the window. If you've been to
okay.
Chick-fil-A, a similar concept to have the lines move quickly. So that is staff use only.
Okay, fine, then keep, or at least my opinion, yeah, keep it. Great, thank you for that explanation. That does certainly help. Okay, additional comments? Did you have something you want to add? Yes.
Yeah, so in light of that, I mean, would you feel comfortable recommending like signage or something stating staff use only
No.
for that?
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think so, but thanks
No.
for, well, I don't know, the rest of staff, no.
No.
I mean, staff.
And
not staff
then
commission, but thank
also
you.
there was the cover for.
Oh, yes.
that as well.
Thank you,
That's up to them. That's
yeah,
design.
that opinion. Okay,
I would, we're not trying to micromanage your design. We don't have the ordinance doesn't require shelters to drive through. So that's up to you and part of your thing.
I'm with Tom.
Okay, any other comments, questions for the applicant or for staff? Okay, can we have a voice? And again, the motion was to postpone. Now, did we put a date certain on that?
Not,
No, do we need a date certain? Michelle?
You said the next meeting, I believe they're already started. So.
Okay. Do you feel comfortable, Jim, revising that to the next meeting?
I always hate like setting
Okay,
a
then you don't have
specific date.
If we don't need it, then,
You know, why tie, they'll come back when they want to come back.
okay, good. All right, that's the motion. So can we voice vote, please? Oh, no, sorry, roll call vote.
Oh, sorry, that's me. Okay, Bill,
Yes.
Heatley,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Hardy,
Yes.
Walsky,
Yes.
sorry about that.
No, That's all right.
That's fine. Motion.
All right, thank you. See you in a month or so. Okay, next up, pre-arranged citizen participation. We have none on the agenda tonight. Reports of officers, chairman report. I have nothing to report other than if you see later on down the agenda, there are election of officers. So if anybody wants to start thinking through, I know we say so it's possible, thinking through what position they want, although we're missing, again, 3 members of planning commission, so it may end up being postponed again, but who knows? Okay, so,
So, by the way,
yes, Mr. Hill?
Tom could come,
Oh, that's,
should
Wait.
invite him back. Right?
I'll send him a switch.
oh yeah, that's right.
We'll
So
see.
you've got a new business item, and then you've got the election officers at the end.
Yeah,
Well,
well, but
what
Tom
did
was,
he recuse from
actually,
that?
Tom was recused from the Mill Creek, right?
Yeah.
So actually, why did he leave?
Come back to the report of officers.
No,
He recused himself from this one.
Right.
Oh, that's right, both. Okay, so you guys are about to, okay. I don't think he needs to come back just for this because he's gonna be leaving in a minute, so. All right, so that was the planning commission chair report. Anyway, anything else from other planning commissioners to share?
yes,
Mr. Hill?
in our ZBA meeting, we reviewed the ZBA bylaws and elected officers, and for some reason I was elected chair. this
All
time.
right.
All right. Moving right up the chain of command.
And I wanted to show you something.
Oh my God.
At the ZBA meeting, I was the lone person to vote against the Baker Road Court, the senior center.
Oh,
And that wasn't enough to slow things down. But Dan Chapman, who's on the senior board, afterwards sent me this little, written on there is Chet's door.
Oh my God, I love it.
It is funny.
You know what, when that building is finished, we gotta go put that door on the front of the senior center, Chad.
Chad, thank you for fighting the good fight.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Chad. Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, that's great. I never got a door.
You
Wow,
would, you wouldn't get a door, you would get a bike.
a bike.
I was thinking the same thing.
Okay,
Or a front porch.
or a front porch. That's awesome. All right, thank you, Chad.
Yeah.
Okay, community development, Michelle. Oops, sorry.
No, not, I was just letting you know she's refreshed.
Okay.
Okay, you've got my report, it's in the packet. I don't believe I have any verbal updates, you've got everything you need, but if you've got any questions for me, please, I'm always happy to answer them.
Things are cruising right along in town, so any questions for Michelle? Right now, thinking, nope. All right, well then, awesome. Okay,
Doesn't say anybody's line, doesn't say-
yeah, all right, citizens wishing to address the commission. Anybody online, raise your hand. You wish to address the commission? Seeing none. Old business, none. New business, consideration of the preliminary PUD approval extension for the Mill Creek Flats. So with that, I guess, does the applicant want to give a 2-minute, you're just requesting an extension, right? All right, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I mean, if you want to, and again, introduce yourself, please.
Yep, sure. Mike Penn, representing Grand Development Group, Mill Creek Flats project. So yeah, we were just, simply asking for an extension for our PUD agreement. Effectively, we are working through the capital stack right now. We had applied for a attainable housing grant through MISHDA back in last September, a year ago. It would take us a year to get here, but as you are all aware, the government processes are quite slow and grants are even slower to be awarded. So we're working through that. We still think we have a viable project in the long term, but are working through the minutia to get it there.
Awesome, good, thank you. Okay, Michelle, do you have anything to add to that, or?
You may have noticed that Michelle had to.
Yeah, exactly. That's okay. It's always in there. It makes us really appreciate when they're in
Thank you.
there.
Okay, so, as Mr. Penn has explained, they did get approval back in September 11th, 2023 from City Council based on a recommendation that the Planning Commission made for their preliminary site plan. I've identified what those conditions of approval are. As of yet, they haven't done their plan, and they're trying to secure their funding in order to make this project feasible. The ordinance does say that a preliminary PUD plan, when approved, is good for a year. But the final site plan needs to be submitted in order to go to that next site. We got, they are asking for that. So for that recommendation to City Council.
Thank you. Could you remind it? So obviously the preliminary is good for 1 year.
Right.
And then the
Final is good for
2.
because final has all construction plans, all permitting, things that can take longer. Whereas
Right.
between preliminary and final, you're just talking the site plan details. And yes, there's detailed engineering in it, but a lot of that. The rest of it's much.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Just trying to think, I don't. Should have more time, even 2 years, but either way, that's what's before us. So any questions for Michelle on this one? Again,
If I could. before you-
yes, please.
Based on what you just said, we will be coming to you next month with some proposed amendments to the ordinance. If this is something you want to consider, let me know.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we can have a quick discussion, but I just brought it up, like, does anybody want to consider extending some of the plan approval dates, like from 1 year to 2 or 2 to 3, I think?
Yes.
Like final is 2 to 3, maybe.
Right.
I guess at least as a discussion item. Okay, so it sounds like if you could just explore that a little bit, maybe, and then we can get the rest of feedback from the other commissioners. Yeah, that's kind of worth it. Thank you. Yeah, okay. All right, anything else on that issue then? So. All right, well then I guess we're ready. Hopefully, another year gets you guys, I know you're trying, so it's a great project. We hope to see it built. So with that, can we have a roll call vote, please? This would be to another extension for a year.
Do we need to move it in second?
Wait, we didn't have a motion?
Oh
Oh my God. Okay, that would help because we have nothing. Hey, that's why you're secretary. You're keeping track of things. Yeah, you're the one exhausted. Okay, how did I miss? Okay. Yes, can somebody make a motion? Okay, thank you. Can you make the motion?
Yes, based on the information provided by the applicant and staff, the planning commission finds PASPX 24-0002. Preliminary PUD plan for Mill Creek Flats application received July 14, 2023. Preliminary site plan dated July 11, 2023 recommends approval of an extension of the conditional approval of the preliminary PUD plan for Mill Creek Flats to the city council granted by the city council on September 11, 2023.
Good job. Move Heatley. For support. Support Phillips. Okay. Any other discussion? All right, now can we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Hardy,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Heatley,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Kowalski.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, go forth and get funded. All right. Okay, next up, election officers.
Hold on, let me get time to do that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, where Tom might have fallen asleep.
He needs an office. He refuses himself.
Exactly, after a couple, right, we could get him a little temporary office up there. Back. Okay. You know where he's at.
Yeah.
Kind of a big cavernous building.
He's in the conference room.
Okay.
Yeah. Just a snap.
Welcome back.
Okay, let's go over this back. All right, elections of officers is the next item. Do we want to hold it? I mean, we're down 3 people, but I don't know, we could postpone it. What's that? Exactly. There can
That'll
be
teach them.
your slate of officers right there. So, other than that, or if somebody wants to make a motion, we do this every year, but we can do it differently. We can do it by secret ballot. We can do it by a roll call. You can, I mean, tally them all up, but, or somebody can make a motion, or again, we could postpone to the next month if people would think that'd be better to get more
Well, that was my
attendance.
suggestion earlier, but I was kind of joking.
Well, if you made a motion, then maybe.
I'm guessing that there's not going to be too much discussion, even with the other 3 people here.
There could be.
Well, maybe so, unless somebody's really hot to be.
Sooner or later, somebody's gonna be really.
I'd be inclined to go ahead and vote right now.
I'm fine with vote right now. I think that part of me would always like to punish the people not here by electing them. I think we all know what is going to
Right.
happen.
Yeah. So I guess if somebody wants to make a motion to nominate, you can nominate by a
You
slate.
can't
or-
even make a motion for yourself.
I don't think so.
I move to renominate the president's leadership slate.
Support.
Is that clear enough, Michelle? Okay. So I think, having said that, so like what next year is next year is 25. So that would be my 25th year on planning commission
There's term limits, right?
next year.
25 years.
No, there's
Every
not.
25.
So, but 25 years is a nice round number, so I figure sooner or later, somebody's gonna be really chomping at the bit here to take me out, so. Having said that, all right,
Motion tardy, second.
yes, I forgot, Covert, okay, so could we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Mr. Colbert,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Ms. Heatley,
Okay.
Mr. Tardy,
Yes.
and Mr. Kowalski.
Yes, thank you all for your,
Yes.
your confidence or the fact that nobody else wants to do this, I don't know, but thank you either way. All right, or no, well, I don't know about that, but maybe there's not a better fix. I don't know. All right, proposed business for October 7th. So it'll probably be Ziggy's back. Anything else on some text amendments? Okay. Okay. All right.
Discussion first. And
Oh, the text amendments. I thought we were talking about the text. Yeah, I think that's a good idea because depending on what they all are. We probably might want some discussion, so. Awesome. Okay, citizens wishing to address the commission, see no one in person. Is there anyone online that would like to address the commission? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved up, Hill, is there support? Support Heatley, all in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, meeting is adjourned.
You're gonna kick
Thank you all.
Yeah, yeah, we know that.
Melissa, when do you think of your first meeting?